in my next guest, Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador Danon, thank you very much for joining us here on the program. I just want to begin by playing you these words from the UN's humanitarian chief, Tom Fletcher. Let's just have a listen.
We have briefed this council in great detail on the extensive civilian harm that we witness daily. Death, injury, destruction, hunger, disease, torture, other cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment, repeated displacement on a large scale. We have described the deliberate obstruction of aid operations and the systematic dismantling of Palestinian life and that which sustains it in Gaza. This degradation of international law is corrosive and infectious. It is undermining decades of progress on rules to protect civilians from inhumanity and the violent and lawless among us who act with impunity.
That was Tom Fletcher. And Ambassador Danon, he goes on to say, stop the 21st century atrocity in Gaza. Will you act now decisively to prevent genocide in Gaza and to ensure respect for international humanitarian law? I just want to get your reaction to what Tom Fletcher was saying.
Yalda, I was there yesterday at the Security Council and I heard Mr. Fletcher and I told him very directly, we are in this war because of Hamas, period. If you want to blame somebody, blame Hamas for all the suffering both in Israel and in Gaza. This war will not end and while we have hostages in Gaza. We are not going to leave behind 58 hostages and move on. The sooner the world will understand that, maybe we can move forward for something else. But expecting Israel to decide that that's it, we forget about the hostages, it's just not going to happen. We will continue this war until Hamas will be defeated.
Ambassador Danon, Ambassador Danon, I'm not talking about Hamas, a terrorist organization. I am talking about you, the state of Israel, as a responsible actor. For the last 19 months, the world has been watching the way that you have prosecuted this conflict, the way that aid has been prevented from reaching the most needy. In the last 2 months, 73 days, we have seen that there has been no aid that has entered Gaza. So while you can deflect and say that this is Hamas's responsibility, at the end of the day, you are the governing power in Gaza. You have a responsibility to ensure that there is no famine and starvation in Gaza, which is what the world, including your allies and partners, are now accusing you of. And it's gone beyond accusation. They are saying that they are seeing it in real time take place.
So the only starvation in Gaza is the starvation of the hostages. We have heard the testimony of Idan Alexander, who came out 2 days ago, about the way he was treated in a cage, chained by his feet and hands, starving to death. So the only starvation is of the hostages. And it's very simple. You know, you can go on and blame Israel for everything. But you have to make it very simple. As long as we have hostages in Gaza, we will not stop. We will bring them back home. They were abducted from Israel and they will come back to Israel.
Ambassador Danon, I just want to show this COGAT graph from the last few months. It stops at the end of February. We'll just get it up on our screen where you can see there is now no record of any aid entering Gaza. Humanitarians across the globe are saying that Israel continues to deny them access into Gaza and continues to deny any aid into Gaza, including Cindy McCain, the chief of the World Food Programme. Just your reaction and response to that, because we can talk about the hostages in a moment and we can talk about Hamas's actions, but I am asking you about the aid and the fact that you are the governing body in Gaza and there is now no food for people in the Strip.
First of all, I beg to differ with your assessments. You know, yesterday I showed at the Security Council that the IPC report said that in Gaza they are facing famine in the future. There is enough food because during the ceasefire we allowed tons of supply to come into Gaza. But I'm not telling you that it's easy to be in Gaza. But if you want to blame somebody, blame Hamas. It's very easy. They just need to release the hostages, lay the weapons, and then it's over. But expecting us now to listen to the cries of the people of Gaza and close our ears for the cries of the hostages and their families, it will not happen. We hear the families, and we are telling the families we are with you.
It is your conflict, though. I mean, you're saying you're not going to focus on the cries of the people in Gaza, but are you now saying that you admit that it's not your responsibility to ensure that aid gets into Gaza, that people like Tom Fletcher, Cindy McCain, leading global humanitarians who are saying that there is no aid getting into the Strip and Israel is not allowing it, that it doesn't matter what they think, you're going to continue to prosecute your war? That is the policy of Israel now?
Well, unfortunately, you have a few players who like to speak a lot about humanitarian issues in Gaza. But if you allow me for 1 minute, you know, the US has put out a plan to support Gaza with humanitarian help. You know, even before the plan was presented, it was denied by the UN and some agencies. I'm happy that there are NGOs who will cooperate with that. But I ask myself, if they claim that there is a problem, why they don't engage with the US about their plan, about their ideas to provide humanitarian aid into Gaza? And immediately they said, we will not cooperate with that, we will not take part of that. That's hypocrisy. That is hypocrisy at the United Nations.
As you say, they have rejected that because for the last 19 months, Israel continues to be accused of preventing aid trucks from entering the Strip. I just want to ask you about a number of other things, including systematic human rights abuses that we've been seeing in Gaza. Sky News did an investigation about a number of paramedics who were killed and then buried in shallow land in Gaza alongside their vehicles. Israel's own internal investigation, despite repeated claims that these were Hamas militants, it was discovered that these were in fact paramedics. Your response to that?
Well, first, I will be very happy to see when the next Sky report about human rights abuse of Hamas in Gaza. You know, every day they execute their own people, and they have been molesting
Ambassador
the
Danon, I'm asking about Israel's responsibility
I will get to that, but
here.
I will be very happy to see.
I know, but we can talk about Hamas, and we are conducting an interview with Hamas
today,
tomorrow, and we will hold Hamas accountable. But I want to ask about these paramedics. These 15 paramedics who were not Hamas militants, and we have continued to see the targeting of hospitals and the targeting of paramedics by Israel, who is supposed to be a responsible state actor. So comparing yourself to Hamas, who, as you say, operates as a terrorist organization, when you are supposed to be a democratic state, a responsible actor, you are not the same as Hamas, and you shouldn't compare yourself to Hamas. And I'm asking for your reaction and response to the killing of these 15 paramedics.
Well, I will answer that. I wasn't comparing Israel. I would just say it's about time that Sky News will do a report about what Hamas is doing to the people in Gaza. Now, regarding your question, I can tell you that we are doing our best to minimize civilian casualties. But when Hamas is hiding in hospitals, when Hamas is using those NGOs as human shields, that's unfortunate. And if we make a mistake, and sometimes we do make mistakes, we take responsibility for that, and we acknowledge that. But we are doing everything we can to minimize casualties of people who are not involved with terrorist organizations. But let's acknowledge it. You know, only yesterday we heard a report about attack of Hamas leadership in Gaza. Why they were hiding in a hospital? Why they were hiding in a tunnel beneath a hospital?
And I want to get to that incident that took place yesterday. But with this particular incident with the paramedics, it wasn't until footage emerged. Israel continued to deny that these were innocent paramedics. You said that they were, in fact, Hamas militants. It wasn't until footage emerged that Israel then said it would conduct an internal investigation. And the findings of that investigation has not concluded that these were Hamas militants, even though the paramedics say they alerted the IDF of who they were. In terms of yesterday's attack, I just want to show you some footage that was released by the IDF. Israeli forces say that they were targeting, as you say, a Hamas command and control center buried underneath the European hospital. You can see what the IDF says are tunnels outlined there in red. And this is footage, Ambassador, that the IDF itself has put out. Now, Sky News has confirmed the footage actually shows the Isan al-Agha school, which is about 160 meters away. So this is the courtyard of a school and not, in fact, the command and control center of Hamas.
So, because you sent me that information, I checked it with our people on the ground. And what we found out that in this case, yes, you had infrastructure of tunnels beneath the hospital, but it wasn't only beneath the hospital. It was stretched to other areas in that region. And that's why, it wasn't only under the hospital. But you should ask yourself, why under almost every hospital in Gaza, you have a command center of Hamas? And that's the question we should ask ourselves.
Sir, I just want to tell you what our experts have told us. Those tunnels that you're talking about, the dark shapes highlighted there on the screen, the markings were caused by water, not tunnels, because these are drainage systems. And so the dark shades that you're talking about, which Israel claims to be tunnels, are in fact caused by water because of a drainage system.
Well, I'm not familiar with your expert, but I can tell you that, Yalda, that today, in Gaza, you have underground system bigger than the tube in London and the subway in New York City combined. It's a huge infrastructure of tunnels. All the dollar that was spent over the years in Gaza went to the tunnels. And that's unfortunate. And we are determined it will not be that case. The future of Gaza will be without Hamas, without tunnels, and hopefully the money will be invested in building hospitals and schools and not a network of tunnels.
Ambassador, so can I confirm that the video that the IDF has put out to say was the European hospital and that there was a tunnel system under there was in fact wrong?
Absolutely not. I told you earlier, we checked it and we saw tunnels that started in the hospital and went to other areas in the surrounding area of the hospital.
Well, our experts say that this is in fact the courtyard of a school and not a command and control center. And like I said, those tunnels that you point to are in fact, the dark marks were caused by water because of a drainage system. So would you say then and admit that this was in fact a mistake by the IDF?
Absolutely not. And I think we will be able to confirm, some of the individuals who we were able to eliminate in this operation. And you will ask yourself, it was like a school, why you have leaders of Hamas terrorist organization hiding beneath a school, beneath a hospital. They're taking advantage of those places, but we are determined to hunt them down everywhere.
I'm sorry, you're not answering my question. The footage put out by the IDF, they claimed that it was the tunnel and command and control center underneath the European hospital. The footage, in fact, is of a school. Did the IDF put out the wrong footage or they got it wrong?
No, so I answered you. Maybe you are not happy with the answer I'm giving you, but it wasn't only the hospital itself. The surrounding of the hospital, you have other infrastructure of Hamas, you have tunnels connecting those infrastructure into the hospital, and it's not the first time that we see that the hospital itself is the headquarters, and in facilities around the hospital, you have command centers of Hamas.
Okay, Ambassador Danon, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us here on the program.
Thank you very much.